are a lot, I mean a lot, of all button controllers out there, and here's yet another, the FightBox B1 by FightBox. And this is the PS3, PS4 version, which means it's compatible with Switch, PC, PS3, and PS4. So we're going to go over today just some first impressions, some lab time, some pros, cons, who's it for, and who's it, not for. So let's get started. Let's take a look at the dimensions of the FightBox B1. Now, if we measure length here, just shy of 12 inches that way, or just shy of 300 millimeters, if that's your thing. And I'm going to measure this way. We're looking just about 7¼ inches, or 185 millimeters. And for height, not very tall. You're looking at about just over 1/2 inch, or about 20 millimeters. Now, in case having cable installed does affect your judgment here on how long you have to have it, with kind of a standard B cable in here, you're adding about an extra, inch and 1/4 or so. Of course, I believe there are right angle B cables, so if that is a concern about adding just that much length, then yeah, that's an option as well. You'll probably be looking at 1/2 inch or so. So what if we wanted to put this with the Steam Deck? So just to give you an idea, if you were planning on taking this on an airplane or train or whatever, how much kind of minimum space you need. And with this setup, I have the Steam Deck on a little stand, and you might be able to use the seat in front of you. Otherwise, this is very handy for just holding it upright. Otherwise, you're just gonna have it flop over. Worst case is you can just put it like that. Probably leave some next train issues, but whatever. The other thing you're going to want is this USB-A to C converter. So that way you can use the cable that comes with it, or just any other A to B cable with the Steam Deck. If you have a USB-C to whatever hub, then that can work too. But if you're just doing a single device, there you go. So just to give you an idea of how long this is from back there, you're looking at about a foot or so, and this is minimum. So this is probably very doable for an airplane setup if you can manage to get everything out and then get it set up. You just really need that training time. You're experimenting with a new game or whatever you're doing. This setup should work as long as you have a tray table in front of you. If you have one of those fold-out ones from the armrest, probably not. But I see photos all the time of people doing their setups with the Steam Deck or some other device, and this is very capable, even though this is not the subcompact model. Let's take a look at the weight. Let's take a quick look at the weight of the FightBox B1. We're getting about 2 pounds, 8 ounces, which feels about right. So first impressions for the FightBox B1. First of all, this form factor is really nice. I think it will travel really well. It fits easily within a backpack or other bags. You've already seen in the dimensions that it's pretty easy to fit a Steam Deck with it, or maybe a Switch. And like if I just place my hands over it, I have fairly small hands, and this is covering it up. There is a variant of the B1 that is actually even smaller, and these option buttons get reduced to little nubs. And there's that option, but I feel like this is, for me, it's an ideal form factor. But if you need something even smaller, that exists. Second off, noticing these buttons. So most buttons out there on the market, you're going to be curving in like the old school American style, those concave, or more standard in like Sam was, and pretty much every other button, you have the convex, which has the little dome on top. But these are just perfectly flat, and they feel pretty good. So yeah, that's something I think we'll get into more. And if I ply off one of these caps, you see inside that, yes, these are using Cherry MX switches, and they are, I believe they're removable, but we'll get into that in the internal section. Let's see if I can snap that back in. Yep, pretty easy to put back on. Nice thing also is that there is a removable USB port right up top. So you can remove that cable and not worry about it getting broken. And since that's a USB-B, you'll be using a kind of a printer cable style USB. Those are replaceable about anywhere and for not a lot of money. So that's very nice. Something that's striking me though is that we have no button labels. And now obviously for these guys I don't care as much, but for option buttons I'd like to see little icons. It's just, what does this do? Is this a mode button? Is this a where's L3, R3, home, start, whatever? It'd be nice to have some sort of labeling here. So those are some of my first impressions. Let's go ahead and see if we can do some internals review. Let's dig more into the internals on the B1. So as shown in first impressions, yep, you can pop off these caps for both, and these are supposed to be removable. If I had a proper key switch puller, oh, there we go. So yeah, these are using plate mount switches. So if we zoom in, it does look like you could use PCB mount because the holes are there for it. So if you have the switches with the little plastic post on the side, then that's fine. So these are very replaceable. So if you have a favorite key switch or you want to lube them or do whatever, you can take that and do that. And there's all sorts of places with key switches out there. Just look on your favorite search engine, you'll find plenty. Now these, I should be using a proper key switch puller, I know, but because the size, let's zoom back in, it's really tough to get in there. So if we take a look, there's just, I don't know if it can be done. These might be hard soldered in. It's not wanting to move much. I may have to try some other methods. So let's take a look and see if we can open this up a little bit. This is kind of, as you see that it's a really small form factor. You've got acrylic mixed with a PCB in there. There is a Brook board in there just without headers. And the different kind of models of the B1, or I guess sub-models you could say. And there's a basic one that comes with, I think, a zero delay. And then it goes all the way up to having a universal fighting board, so UFB. So it's just held in place with these screws. And the finish on this is really good, and for the price point that, it's about what I expect. Okay, and we're in. So there is that bottom layer, and then we have a PCB, and I'm a little nervous about taking these apart. So that plies away from there. There we go. And we've got all these pins and screws. Okay. As you can see, we've got a Brook board here, and then pretty simple PCB layout. I don't know if we can, these seem pretty stuck in. So if you wanted to change those option switches, I usually like using clickies. Cannot get away with that, unfortunately. So it's interesting how the board has labels for the buttons here, and it's curious that the R3 is here and the L3 is here. Not sure why those aren't swapped, but you have home, option, share, touch. So there's that. And other than that, it's a lot of sandwiched acrylic. Since we're using a Brook board in this, I expect the performance will be just fine. Not sure how this, you could probably put a jump arm there and it changes the mode of the SOCD. These are all soldered in, so not very removable unless you're an expert in, you know, desoldering and resoldering. It's probably not going to let you replace the board with something like a UFB if you wanted to. You'd have to cut the acrylic, and that's just such a mess. So upgradability of the PCB, not likely. Not in this model. That's something you live with. So I'm going to button this back up, and then we'll continue with the review. We are here in the lab with the B1, and we're going to do a little standard gamepad tester stuff. So first of all, let's go over our buttons. There's up top, there's our kick row, looking good. We can press all 8 of them down just for funsies. There we go. If we try and mash, yeah, you can see they're lighting up pretty quickly, and just, you know, how we want them to. Left, right, doing good. Press them together, get nothing, which is what we expect for the default Brook SOCD stuff. Up and down, and if we press them together, we're getting up, which is again what we expect. And if we let go of up, it goes right back to down, so that's part of that cheap box advantage right there. And then R3, L3, and then a few of these option buttons. I won't touch too many of them because that'll call up the guide, and that's no fun. This over here is turbo button, so let's give that a whirl. So the way to turn it on in your Brook boards is you hit that button, press the action button you want, and there you go. And to turn off again, you just repeat it. It's not the fastest turbo in the world, but it's good for shooters, etc. Not exactly the turbo you want for, say, track and field or track and field 2. All right, let's go ahead and get in game. Looks like everything here checks out pretty well. So we'll get started there. We're in with Guilty Gear Strive, and we've got Sin and versus Soul here. Just going to do some training. So let's do some basics.
Gotcha! Let's do this!
Alright, so buttons feeling good. I am noticing that these buttons do feel a little stiffer on the tops. They're just, it's a harder plastic, I think, than most buttons, so it does give you a little bit of weird feeling in the fingers. But on my other testing, that kind of went away after a while. And yeah, because this is just that flat acrylic bottom, getting a little sliding. Of course, it is on this kind of slightly slick foam, so I expect that. But when I've done testing on my lab, whatever, it does the same thing. So probably some grip tape or foam would remedy that. Anyway, let's just do some. Let's make sure we can get that kind of motion out. Alright. Okay, let's see. Backdash, forward dash, things feel pretty good there. You can do an air dash. Yep.
Let's do this.
I kind of use the shortcut there. Okay, good. Sometimes after you do like a one more cancel, Roman cancel, whatever, getting the next inputs can be tough on some of the sticks. That's pretty good here. One other thing I've found with hitboxes, sometimes it's hard to get, like you want to get, you got a super jump, but jumping forward back just seems, okay, I'm getting it, I think it's mostly my fault, just, there we go. I forgot I don't even have to take it off. Okay. Air dash.
Danger, negative penalty.
Let's see. So, yeah. There's the super jump. I think I just need to practice them a little bit more.
Negative
But
penalty.
straight down and up is fine for me, but down, close back, and you know, some. Yep, there it is. It's only sometimes I get the correct super jump. So that's probably something I just need to practice. It's not a fault of the FightBox.
Danger.
All right, let's go ahead and get into another game just to mess around a little bit more. I'm gonna play a little bit of Fighting Lair.
Terry Bogard.
Figure I'll do arcade mode for a little bit to do some real fighting. Or semi-real. As much as fighting a computer is.
Get ready. Round 1. Fight. Brown knuckle. Scuttle Steiner.
Oh.
Brown knuckle. Scuttle diver.
There's a good test things with since he's a charge and motion guy.
KO.
That's nice.
Stand up. Round 2. Fight. Power weight. Power weight. Rock me. Power weight. KO.
That was the finding out
Round
phase.
3. Fight. Brown knuckle. Legend tackle.
A little early.
Power weight. Power weight.
Come on.
Hey.
There we go. It's usually pretty easy to get those out on this. There we go.
KO.
I don't feel as confident in myself with
Stand up. Round 4.
kind of half circle back
Fight.
and then forward stuff, like in Guilty Gear and other SNK games.
Power weight. Hey. Are you okay?
And quarter circles seem to come out pretty decent. Oh, just to see what happens if you go and mash. Yeah, key caps are not coming off. They don't feel like a loose.
Power weight.
I mean, there is some button wobble, but that's well within any button
Power
wobble.
weight.
I don't think there are any wobbleless buttons out there.
Power weight. Hey. Power geyser.
Just think I'm raw super. Bling it out.
Time up.
But there you go.
Nice fight. See you.
Okay, that should be enough Fighting Lair for now. We'll go ahead and one more game for funsies. Okay, our last game for the lab is going to be Shredder's Revenge. Something a little different, not something you'd probably want to play with a hitbox necessarily, but it's very playable. I've dialed the music down just in case of copyright claims. You know, the main theme might fade, you never know. Whoop.
off myself.
Dang.
Deep breath. Go! Hi-ya!
I've got this on loan from my family library, so I don't have any levels on this instance.
Whoa.
No. It's bad.
Hi-ya!
Oh, okay. This is that one.
Deep breath. Hi-ya! Deep breath.
Yeah. Well, if you have the mapping down in your head for, you know, the down button goes up, there's no reason you can't play a brawler like this.
Katana slash. Deep breath.
Especially, you know, when they don't use any analog movements. Works just fine here. Anyway, I think that's enough lab time. We'll take it back and give you some pros, cons, and wrap things up. So let's talk about what I liked, what you might want to watch for, and what can be improved upon on the B1. First of all, I love this form factor and the fit and finish. It's got good weight. I like my controllers to have some weight so that, you know, it doesn't feel like you just brush it and it goes flying off your table or your lap or whatever. So that feels nice. It's got good solid construction. I can press on it and not cause a lot of flexion there, which is, you know, good. It makes me feel like I can trust it and it's durable. You've got keyboard switch based buttons, which is great, and all of these, at least the movement and your action buttons here, are all swappable. Kind of bummer that the option buttons aren't, but, you know, there you go. If you are getting any version except the PC Android version, you're getting a Brookboard in here, so you've got some great response times. And, you know, not a lot of lag at all. Nothing noticeable. Plays really great. And if you want your own art, there is the availability of the DIY option. So that's very nice. Otherwise, you can get some pre-printed art, and that's a solid choice too. Another thing I liked is the removable cable. This is always great to have. It's always just heartbreaking when you have a controller you like, and then it has a fixed cable on there. You know, dog, cat, whatever, chews on it, and your controller is now worthless unless you can splice that back together. But with a removable cable, if they chew it apart, you just throw that cable out, or what's left of it, and plug in a new one, and you're set to go again. So that's really nice. So some things that you might be just something you want to watch for before you buy a B1. Flat buttons. You know, it's going to feel weird to you at first, and especially if you're used to, you know, Samwa convex or old style American concave, where, you know, you've got a little divot in there, or, you know, in the Samwa case, it's like a dome on top. These are, you know, again, they're totally flat, and they do feel, I mean, I played on this a while now, and they feel stiffer somehow, like not in the button press itself, but in the cap itself. Like, these are a harder plastic that you're gonna feel it kind of just go back in vibration-wise into your fingers, and it might just feel a little bit off for a bit. Once you get used to it, though, it feels great. It's fine. So there is that like initial stiffer feeling. I feel like these buttons do sit a little bit higher. Like, if we take a look at the side, you can see kind of how they rise out of the top acrylic. And, you know, it's not bad. It's not like there's a really long press on these buttons or anything like that, but it is something, like when you go to mash, it feels different if you use the kind of slide style. If you just use that style, then it won't feel much different, but it is just something to note. It's, again, kind of one of those neutral items. Button colors. You only have the option of getting this specific format. You get red here, black here, white here. Now that's a great color combination for me. I like this color setup, but if you're looking for something a little bit crazier, you're going to have to either break out some paint or I don't know, because you don't have that option to just put in your own keycaps. There's no option to change that. There's also no option on the website to order different switches, like if you like tactile, a cherry brown, or if you want something with clickiness, a cherry blue, cherry green, if you really want the stiffness, then you just get cherry blacks and that's it. Now that's kind of the case for a lot of other button boxes, so it's not a horrible thing. That may be a very, very minor con, but it's given the availability of key switches and how personalized they are, just shipping it with black and saying, there we go. I understand for the price point, so it doesn't bother me too much. Something that I'd like to see for the higher end FightBox, or just the FightBox in general, at least for future revisions, is I know I've said this B port is great because those cables are so available. There's tons of them out there. I mean, I went and found a pack of 3 for like $4 or something not too long ago, and they have pretty colors, so I was like, okay, fine, I've got a bunch of these, but I'm gonna get more. Anyhow, especially with the Universal Fight Board with the Up 5 model, I'd like to see, maybe in future revisions again, a move to USB-C. Yes, the cables are somewhat less available, but they're becoming more and more so, and just having that reversible connection is nice. And plus, if you're finding a B to C cable, I don't think technically they're supposed to really do that. You're supposed to only go from A to C at worst. So having the option for USB-C in future revisions, I'd like to see that happen. So I talked about the wobble in the buttons. If you need something that it has no wobble whatsoever, I don't know really what's out there that accomplishes that, but just be noticed there is a tiny bit. So you can kind of see it here. If I do it, here, or it's a little more pronounced on the option buttons, but what's the big deal there? It's not a whole lot, and I think it's a little bit less than your average Sanwa button. So it's just something to know about. I don't feel like it's a con that these guys are wobbling, and it might be if box switches work, that might correct it a little bit. I can't say. I don't have any on hand to test. So lastly, in the kind of neutral items and things you want to watch for is if you are looking for a plug-and-play solution, you just want to buy it, stick a cable in it, and play games, hey, this guy is great. You're not going to be doing a lot of customization outside of, if you get the DIY model, you can plug in your own artwork after you get it printed. You can change the keycaps here, but not for these guys. And that's pretty much it. You can't change out the PCB because that's soldered in. On this model, you're not changing the artwork. You can put stickers down, front, back, but past that, there's not a lot of customization going on. And if that's what you're after, that's fine. But if you're looking to make it more prettier or put in performance mods of some kind, that's not really in the cards here. I mean, personally, I like putting in tactile switches. I can do that here. That's great. Something that's not too loud, gives away too much of my, flagrant mashing. But one thing I do like to do is put in Gateron or cherry greens for something that's a little bit stiffer to press and clicks on my option buttons, because it just feels like it makes it more obvious that, yes, you were the one that pressed start to throw that round. Good job. Thankfully, that hasn't happened, but I don't get into a ton of tournaments, so, at the same time, it just feels like there's more of a positive response when I have a clicky switch in there that requires more pressure in option buttons. So it makes it that tiny bit more deliberate. But, again, if you want that plug and play, here you go. If you're looking for doing a lot of customization, modding, this isn't really the box for you. So what can we improve upon for the B1? First of all, I feel like The website is part of the total package here, and sure, yes, it lists, you know, the various pictures, etc., but it doesn't do a good job comparing the various models together to really make you understand, okay, I'm paying X amount and I get XYZ features. I'm paying this amount, I'm getting ABC plus XYZ. Just to help make the consumer have a more informed choice. There was kind of a little thing with the listing for this particular model where the title says PS5, PS4, PS3, but when you get into the actual listing, it reminds you, hey, this only works when you have a game in PS4 mode on your PS5. So it does not natively support the PS5 unless you get that trim level with the UFB that has the Up 5, the most expensive model. So that's something that I feel could be amended. Even if it was just, okay, I'm going to put an asterisk in next to the PS5 to make people read it. So they don't think, oh, I just buy the cheap one and I get PS5 compatibility? Oh, awesome. Well, no, that's not quite the case. Alright, let's talk about some things that I really think we can improve on the box itself. First of all, and I complain about this all the time, on the back here, smooth, flat acrylic. What does that mean? Slides all over anything, including your lap. So, again, when you're playing on Hitbox, most of your input is directed down. If you were playing on a lever, this would be way more noticeable, but it would be nice just to have at least the options for a foam back, some grip tape, whatever it takes to make this not slide. So I really harp on that. It's just kind of a fit-finish thing that I wish more sticks would take seriously. Next up, it's not as noticeable on this white because, my oils won't show up as much. But if you get the black version of this, I think you're going to notice a lot more. Acrylic picks up fingerprints. It's just a fact of life. It's nothing you can really do much about except to cover it up with non-fingerprint grabbing material, I guess. But on the white here, it's much less noticeable, so that is a plus. If you had the bare DIY or the black version, I'm betting dollars to donuts that, yep, it's going to pick up those fingerprint smudges. They will be noticeable. If that drives you crazy, there you go. I think that's a little thing, but it is something that some people pick up on and don't like. Another gripe I have, and I've gone over it in my first impressions, I wish these were labeled. It's so painful to have to remember what's what here. I'm sure after 20 minutes of playing, after using these a few times, you go, oh yeah, I remember this is R3 for some reason, and this is L3, and home, whatever. This is turbo, that's easy because that's over here. But it would be nice just to have some simple icons, labeling, hey, this is home, this is share, this is options, this is R3, this is L3. It's printed on the PCB of all things, so that's curious why it was never put in this particular configuration. So I really like to have them labeled. Obviously, you can't change the switches in these, but I feel that's less of a concern. Sure, you might be able to desolder them out of there. If you have desoldering experience, you can do that and replace them with the switches of your choosing. I don't think that's a huge factor given that the life of these guys is probably practically forever. But I still don't understand. Why is this R3? Why is this L3? These should be flipped, but I'm going to live with it. I'm going to live with it. Something about the buttons that I didn't cover already is these don't feel like they are regulation size, correct? Like Hitbox usually have 24 millimeter for everything here, and some layouts use the 30 mils here, Shio Kenstar or whatever, and then you've got a larger up button here. Well, in this case, they are all the same size. They measure about 25.4 millimeters or about an inch, and if that's a real problem, if it's a deal breaker, then okay. And it also feels like these Guys, usually in a standard hitbox layout, these should be a tiny bit lower. If you are, have years of experience on a hitbox layout and you're coming to this, you might find you're doing tiny micro adjustments. But then again, you're playing on these 6 buttons most of the time anyway, maybe just these 4, so maybe that's not a big deal. But it is something to note. So that's pros and cons. Let's go into wrapping things up, and to do that, I like to ask 2 questions. First of all, who is this not for? And then, who is this actually for? First of all, who is this not for? And kind of obviously, this, I've mentioned it before, it's a plug-and-play solution. You pretty much get it, you plug in your whatever you're going to play on, and you're good to go. You don't need to make a bunch of modifications. So if you're looking to have a box that has extensive artwork options, you can do the wiring on it, you can change the PCB at will. This is not going to be it. This is a very plug-and-play sort of thing. Yes, you can get the DIY option and print your own artwork and put it in, or there's a selection of artwork that you can pre-order with it. So if you like Strive or Dragon Ball Fighters or Street Fighter 5, whatever, you can get that pre-installed and you're good to go. But things like the PCB, that's soldered in without some really impossible modifications. You're not going to change that to a UFB or what have you. Also, yes, you can change the switches in here, but there's no other color options here. So you're kind of stuck with the red and black. I mean, again, that suits me fine, but if you're a person that likes pink, purple, green, blue, red, well, there's red here, but red everywhere, that's not really in the cards for you. And on top of that, if you wanted art on the back, art on the side, you can't do that with this model. Sure, you could put some stickers down if you want to do that, but it's really not much you can do. If you want, a bigger, even chunkier box, then yeah, this guy might not be for you. For me, I feel like it's a really great form factor, but if you're used to something that's bigger, sits off the table more, whatever, this is wouldn't be for you. Obviously, I like this guy because it's portable, plays in my lap, plays on the desk, so it feels really great no matter where I play. But if you're, again, kind of one of those people that want something bigger, then, it's really not for you. Or, if you do need something smaller, there is the B1 Mini. But that shrinks these option buttons to little nubs, for one. And I think I don't know by how much it trims it, but something like that, maybe. So, yeah, it does get a little smaller, but I just like this form factor myself. That said, aside from the obvious, like, oh, I want to use a lever. Well, why are you buying a hitbox? Who is it for? And again, it's for someone who wants something that's plug and play, and especially with the Brook options, you've got great performance. I'm doing all the combos I want to do. As I get used to a hitbox even more and more, I feel more confident with it, and I never felt like my controller was getting in the way. It was all me. Whatever I screwed up. Again, this is also something that's not, the subcompact that the Mini is, or, some other models out in the market are, but it is very portable. You saw in the dimensions that you can fit a Steam Deck really close, probably play on a, longer airline tray table if you want to get your practice mode in, or what have you. So there is that. So overall, if you want something, it really looks nice. Again, I had those people stop by in the airport and just say, "What is that?" And that's a good feeling. So I had to tell them. So if you want something portable, you want something that's plug and play, it looks pretty nice and has a great form factor, has some weight to it, then take a look at the B1, and I think you'll be happy that you did. Yes, it does cost a little more, so if you are looking for something that's a little bit more budget, even their lowest cost model, the PC Android, is on sale at $100 as the time of this recording. But the higher end models are going to cost in the mid-200s range. So just be mindful of that. If you are looking for a budget controller, probably should have thrown that in earlier, but if you have some money to spend and you want to get some bang for your buck, and you are getting bang for your buck with this, I feel, hey, there you go. So that said, that's who I feel this guy is good for, who it's not as good for, and you know, hopefully that helps you make a buying decision about the B1. Hey y'all, if this video helped you get informed about, made a buying decision about, or just satisfied your curiosity about the FightBox B1, could you leave us a like? Really helps a lot, and it's free. Also, if you're interested in our future content, including a review of the PXN X8, make sure you subscribe and set that notification bell for updates. Really appreciate that too. Until then, this has been Zev for the Arcade Stick, and happy fighting!
The Arcade Stick.